It was alright. Is that me? Right. Sorry, not a great opening.
A lot of it was like, yeah, this has been nothing new.
We had a big computer-based thing taking over our whole society. Paradise Towers did that a bit better with its AI, and it stayed as AI.
The first part of the episode felt very much like Smith and Jones.
If you're trying to do an opening story like this, and you look at other examples like Smith and Jones, you know, you start off, you have the companion in their workplace, you get to know the folk in the workplace, and the whole workplace moves to another place, and they deal with that. In this, we have the new companion in their workplace, and then they're taken away to this new planet, and you have to eventually deal with a new roster of characters with less amount of time available to you, so you don't get to know the people on that planet as much. You don't get to know the people she used to know on Earth.
When Belinda's at the hospital being a nurse, we don't really get any of that. It's just kind of there to set up the doctors there looking for her, and then she leaves. She then goes back to her house with her roommates. We don't really know anything about her roommates, they're just kind of there and get kind of shoved aside, and then she gets taken away.
I like Mrs. Flood.
She's always pleasant to see. Even you wouldn't want her to be your next door neighbour.
I just hope we finally find out what's happening with Mrs. Flood, because that's been annoying me. That's literally getting on my nerves so much. But yeah.
As far as we know, we are getting answers. There may not be full answers, there might just be the next set of answers.
We had a sort of theory about it, and you heard it here first, folks.
Yes.
That she's actually the mistress of the land of fiction.
Take that to the bank come the 24th of May. Mrs. Floods, master of the land of fiction. Take that to the betting shop. We'll be millionaires come the 25th.
Because she keeps breaking the fourth wall to the audience, and there's something very creepy about that.
It was a nice wee, just a wee, you ain't seen me, right, sort of thing.
Like the last two seasons have been really fantasy based, and sometimes to the point that we try to hand weave it away, but it doesn't really work within the usual realms of Doctor Who work.
Exactly.
Unless someone is writing it the whole time, and that could be Mrs. Flood.
So I'm hoping that the big denouement is going to be so much better than somebody pointing at a signpost.
There are rumours flying about who she is, and I hope to God they're not true.
I really, really like her to be something extra special, and I hope that it delivers. I really, really hope it does.
But I hope it doesn't have just a quick resolution like we had with Sutek. Like, I don't want Anita Dobson being carried through the space and time vortex on a dog leash.
It was a fun episode, don't get me wrong, because I liked the whole continuity stuff of, let's have somebody look like a Jedi. Let's have somebody look like a Terminator. You might get the reference that I didn't. Let's have the machine looking something out of Transformers.
I really liked the whole silly world building around the Miss Belinda Chadra kind and all that kind of the naming of things. That was fun.
I really enjoy that sort of weirdness where it's a little bit tacky, but it's a very Doctor Who thing to do, where they try and use kind of silliness to its advantage with the every ninth word, the designs of everything, to the very somewhat 1930s to 50s look of the city.
I liked the kind of almost 50s kind of retro look. It's a look I've always liked.
I was very, very impressed by the visual look of the episode. I loved the retro rocket the robots had, the vista of the Belinda Chandra world. That was really, really good. I think a bit of money had also been put into that robot battle that they had. That was really, really spectacular. I really, really liked that.
I loved the whole goofiness and campness of the robots, of the city, of the ship, of the guns.
I thought the look of the robots was really cool. I really liked the little scutter that went polish. I really enjoyed that.
I mean, I thought the robots, for machines, they're poorly designed. I mean, I could outwalk that at a brisk pace. I mean, why would you put the head there when you can't turn? I mean, never mind. I thought that was about, so the robot's got to turn 180 degrees to talk to someone behind it.
The robots, and like especially like when they've changed faces to like go on to the topic that they're talking about, and the whole like way that Al looked on both the outside and then on the inside, I thought was like really well done. Like especially like the whole like human robot hybrid was very well, and also quite creepy. Like it reminded me of like a lot of like 80s horror in a way.
I really like the score.
Yeah.
The music was really good. I liked it was kind of like an 80s synth, like a kind of 80s Doctor Who synthy kind of vibe.
It wasn't me, it was Lennon that picked it up. That they used parts of True Text Steam again. But I don't know if that actually dropped in there this evening, or I thought they were doing it classic style, like we used good music because it's good music.
Yeah.
The sets were like you say kind of 30s, 40s. The music was kind of easy. It was kind of like a confluence of things.
There were so many parts of this that were kind of said but not seen, and we didn't get that development. So things like the coercive relationship for the boyfriend to Belinda, for the relationship with the Doctor and Sasha 55, and how they felt as a pairing being stuck on that planet for 6 months.
I feel like her character could have been used a bit more, or some plot things could have really been shoved aside to allow Sasha 55 to get more connection. So when her death does happen, it feels much more gripping in storytelling, rather than you kind of have to like her because the Doctor likes her.
Sasha 55 thing felt a little bit copy and paste to me, but it did what it said in the tin. So I'm not mad about it. It wasn't the main point of the episodes.
When there was that moment where the Doctor, Sasha and Belinda were kind of hiding under cover, and then Sasha says something about travelling with the Doctor. The moment she said that, I knew she was going to die.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect her to die like this second after she said it, which kind of was part of my overall issue with the pacing. Like I feel like not just this episode but this era has had a really like kind of go attitude to like the story and the characters.
Farada Sethu did a really good job in playing the companion.
It felt like a decent companion introduction because even though she's headstrong and she's going about taking charge and knowing what she's doing, she's still being shocked, surprised, asking the right questions.
I thought she really sold the what the heck is going on here?
Whereas with Ruby, we wanted to get in that, it was just, oh right, I've seen all this before, this is nothing new to me. But like, how? Because you've met the Doctor, you could be a bit more bewildered.
I think once Belinda and the Doctor kind of got together and started talking, it slowed down a bit and I started liking it a little bit more.
I actually liked how when they got to that bunker, like she still went out of her way to help people.
And a rare thing that doesn't get shown a whole lot in Doctor Who is that a companion's job gets used. As for example, Belinda uses her medical skills to help out with the rebels, and she asks the Doctor about questions if like the shoulders are the exact same on Earth, which is rare considering that a whole lot of Doctor Who characters, their jobs get forgotten about very easily, which is a detail that I liked.
And I think right away that makes Belinda both relatable and likeable. Up to a point. Well, okay, maybe not the likeable part, because I still thought she was likeable throughout, but relatable up to a point where kind of out of nowhere she decides, this is all my fault, I'm gonna give myself up to the robot people and the AI generator, and I'm like, both times I thought, that's really quick. It felt so rushed.
It's interesting with the timey-wimey.
Oh boy, the timey-wimey. I never thought Russell T Davies would be giving me a headache regarding that, because it's usually Stephen Moffat that does that.
As much as the fandom tends to pit Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies against each other and talk about them almost as if they were opposites or enemies, they're actually really good friends, and I definitely think that you can see that with this series you can definitely see with the previous series and then with this series so far, as it has been one episode. RTD is taking some inspiration from Moffat.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
They were together in 2008, and then in 2015 the boyfriend was taken because she mentioned him in 2025, but he went back he didn't go back 5,000 years. The document went back 5,000 years. He went there in the present, and then his robots that had taken him were from 10 years in the future. I find that kind of confusing, I'm not going to lie.
Maybe not the best idea for a season opener, if I'm going to be honest. Because I think that's one of the reasons why people started to drop out of Doctor Who during the latter Smith years and specifically the Capaldi years, where they just thought the timey-wimey stuff was getting a bit too hard to follow.
But, I'm not against it. Like, it's a sci-fi show. It should have these kinds of elements.
I like the non-linear stuff. I like the fact that they're playing with the various concepts that you can have in time travel. It's not just simply travel to the past, travel to the future. The repercussions and predestination, and there's a kind of slight book trap paradox feel to it as well, which I really, really enjoyed. That was quite nice. I'd like them to do more of that in Who, just deal with the natural nature of time travel, not just going from A to B, C to D, whatever.
Yeah, I think I'd better talk about that twist.
I don't know how you can mistake Al for AI.
Maybe they could have done a bit more with the whole reason why he's called the AI generator.
Yeah, I didn't really get that.
I did twig kind of early on though, because it was that line that made me wince.
When I was watching it the first time, there's that bit at the start where they're talking and he says something about girls not being good at math.
Why would they write that unless it's got repercussions further down the line, which it did.
I never picked up when I first watched it that in the opening scene he's kind of low-key putting her down and saying, well, girls aren't good at maths, and oh well, you could have actually saved the paper, but oh well. And he's just kind of putting her down in quite subtle ways. I never picked up on that the first time, but when I watched it again I was like, oh, that makes sense with what comes later. I thought it was quite intelligent.
I completely missed that the first time because of just how it was how paced it was.
Yeah.
And so when it got to that moment I was just like, alright, like it kind of just felt like out of nowhere. And even with that line, it still feels like not a lot of seeding, just like that one line. It felt like we could have got more threading of that through the episode about the effects that he has had in her life. And I feel like everything that we kind of found out about Al was done as we were revealing he was the villain. We could have had parts like, say, in the hospital, like she's passing down the reception and someone's like, oh, Alan's phoning you again, or whatever. Like the fact that he's still trying to permeate into her life and things like that. It would have been nice to have threaded that a bit more.
But my only thing with that is, if you have more dialogue with him before we get to the whole Belinda at the hospital bit, then the episode would very much be like, he's the villain.
As Alan was a good bad guy because I didn't like him, so that works.
Like when it kind of starts, like the whole certificate thing, I kind of in my mind thought this AI has found this certificate and just took it literally. And because it's an AI, it doesn't understand the sentimental value of it.
Yeah.
But then obviously we switch it out and say, oh, it's Al, and it's about the incels. And I think like I'm okay with kind of setting up an idea but then saying it's actually about this. But I do think there needs to be a bit more connection with the two, because I do think you can connect them, because both of them are kind of about online culture, AI. There's like a kind of connection there.
Yeah.
And how AI is kind of used to sort of, I guess, it's sort of used to create images that take elements of other things. And his whole thing is very much like, I guess, like it goes back to like a traditional view of things. Like you could have done something, but they definitely didn't really make that connection.
At times, this just felt like if Russell T Davies had written the Torchwood episode Cyberwoman.
I like how it called back to Modern Undead, where you had the two diplomas from different time periods touch each other and then boom.
I liked though they didn't say Blinovitch limitation effect.
And yet, in two different incarnations of the Doctor giving each other handshakes, that's completely okay.
The character actually says during the 9-word thing that he's doing that he's in pain and he's not very happy. So you think, well, here's a chance to save him. and then it doesn't happen, you know.
We've had the Doctor try and help Alan out, saying, just let me disconnect the power conduits and I can help you. But then when Alan was regressed into a microscopic organism, then cleaned up by, was it Polish? And the Doctor just laughs. What? You just witnessed him dying.
I think it would have been better to have done, like, Margaret Blainified him, and in Boomtown where, you know, she becomes an egg and gets a chance to life again and reborn and such.
Yeah, because
I think that would have been a good way to have reset, you know, and or send that message as well of resetting, saying this is a toxic way of behaviour and lifestyle. Reset it instead of get sucked up in a small polish machine.
As much as it's a little inconsistent that then the Doctor's like, haha, it's so funny, he was microscopic and he got hoovered up. It's also, I think it does work because, like, he's so small, he's such a small man, he is microscopic, like, it's weirdly fitting.
The ass queen kick and all of that, I'm like, it feels like it will date horribly. And maybe we'll come back in about 20-30 years of time to be a bit cool in an ironic way, but it's for someone who's meant to be so timeless, it's so time specific to be doing things like that, and it's an issue I have with his Doctor. But yeah, hopefully that will mellow as we come towards things like the intergalactic song contest.
I'm really looking forward to that episode. I really am. I hope it's as good as, because I'm a big fan of the Devil's Chord. We'll get an all singing, all dancing episode again.
I would take the Ballad of the Last Chance Saloon over There's Always a Twist.
That's good too.
It's diabolical, that song.
It's another Moffatism. There's a mystery box around this companion, but I hope she continues to be more than that as well.
Belinda calling it a TARDIS right away. How would she know that? Like, maybe it's something to do with, I don't know, that whole paradox thing.
There's another weird moment where she tells the Doctor what time that she needs to go back to, and then like 2 lines later she's like, this is a time machine? So that was a bit weird. It was almost like she had like 2 different sets of memories. Now it could just be because she was thinking of going over the time fracture, but still to me that hit a little bit strangely, and that along with her knowing the name of the TARDIS before she'd seemingly been told it, I don't know, it just hit a little bit strange. I wonder if she's got some sort of knowledge in her brain that she maybe doesn't know she has, or, you know, a little bit like how Amy had the knowledge coming through the crack in time and space, but she wasn't aware of it.
That ending actually addressed an issue with season 1 right off the get-go.
I felt with Ruby, the Doctor and Ruby got really quickly got on with each other too well.
Conflict. There's actual conflict between the Doctor and the companion this time.
With a companion, you kind of want the whole very realistic side where sometimes it doesn't feel right for something to happen, or the Doctor and companion have arguments, but they feel like best friends at points. But with Ruby and the Doctor, they just didn't feel like that. But with Belinda, it feels very much, she just wants to get home. She finds the Doctor to be somewhat creepy and dangerous and irrational, which I like that as a sort of starter companion.
The fact that she had been in this relationship with Alan was sort of threaded through in her interactions with the Doctor. You know, she was a bit more sceptical towards him, and I like that.
I think the dynamic between the Doctor and Belinda is a bit new in the sense of, like, there has been, like, obviously companions that have been assertive with the Doctor in the past, but, like, she is like, no, get me home. And even when, like, towards the end the Doctor's trying to get her home, she's like, no, get me home now. And
Just hard, just want to get home. I did like it was refreshing, because I've not really had that in a little while, that kind of companion.
Obviously we're getting kind of wee echoes of Tegan Javanka, Get Me to Heathrow.
And the interesting thing about Belinda is all the other companions have a reason to leave Earth. Like they say their job, their life, it's too boring, or they just want something new. But Belinda, she's very determined just to get back home, which very much reminds me of Tegan.
And, like, I like that. I like that there's like a new dynamic, and I think Belinda as a companion is going to be like one of my favourites because like I just loved her throughout the whole episode.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that as well. She had potential.
I hope they carry on with that for the remainder of the season, but we'll see.
With Ruby last season, you know, I thought there were some threads in her opening episode suggesting that we were kind of going towards an arc of Ruby being almost like too selfless and also potentially too caught up in her own family questions. And again, that just like she never developed from that. They never really picked up on those character beats. So I hope that this stuff around Belinda having past trauma with Alan and also her experience as a nurse and everything that makes her good at that and passionate about that, I hope those continue to be picked up and they're not just forgotten.
The ending has a bit of an interesting hook where the Doctor, for some reason, can't get back to May the 24th, 2025. And in the last point they were with the TARDIS, there seems to be debris.
Unless there's another planet that has a Statue of Liberty, an Eiffel Tower and black taxis, I'm assuming the Earth's not there. So it's either been knackered or nicked, one of the two.
I'm not going to theorise too much because I've learned my lesson years ago. Don't theorise too much and take it as it comes, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to mention anything. But it was an interesting hook.
But overall, I thought it was okay. I thought it was decent opener, better than last season, but a little all over the place.
It was an improvement for a series opener in the last one.
I'm one who loves Space Babies, but I thought it was a better opener than Space Babies.
I thought it was a more accessible opener than Space Babies.
It had potential, done well,
Yeah.
but it could have done a lot more at the same time. But at the same time, it is probably setting up for a lot of stuff yet to come.
Yeah.